Before the world sees your wins, your soul has to feel your work. It's the reps nobody applauds that produce the wins that do, all through a shifting of your identity into a dominator. This is all done in the dark every single day. So let me be your guide as I welcome you to this episode of the Dark Work Daily. We've made it to Friday, finally here. And I hope you've been making entries in the day book, sharing things with the community. There's a reason why this is in place. It's not an accident. It's very well thought through. I've spent years, literally 4 years, designing what you are now accessing. And as simple as it is, the idea is simplicity is the goal. There's complexity to make something simple. It's a different conversation for a different time. But I want you to have the ability to look at the simple things that create amazing things. It's the small stuff that builds to something new, which is why today's idea is about what I call Friday Reset. Now, this may be something where I call it a Friday Reset over and over again, but just know today's idea is about what I call the Dominators weekend. The Friday Reset's a concept of like reset the mind, get prepared for the next stage of this. If it's arduous and long term without a break, sometimes it gets heavy, right? But I believe that something's unique about a Dominators weekend. See, weekends are where most people, we'll call them the submitters, they leak momentum. Submitters, they treat Saturday and Sunday as a break from the identity that they're building. They focus purely on sports. And don't get me wrong, I love sports. But for me, sports is a thing as a treat to me. I earn the sports by working hard during the week. And I don't just have the entire weekend carved out while I work towards, preparing for a game and complaining about my job Monday, complaining about my life come Monday. Like, I love my life. I can't wait to get back to things. I only have to shut down a little bit on Saturday and Sunday because the rest of the world shuts down, right? But for me, my goal is to continue building something, stepping into the next stage. And so it's something where I don't want to have a complete stop. I want to continue moving. The pace at which you move may diminish. Like, if you know me personally, weekends are my family time. I'm focused on family heavy, but I am always on the computer, at some point in the morning or in the evening, just making sure little things are moving so I can get on the ground and running come Monday. But I'm a human. I enjoy my family. I take time to stop, but I'm always making sure that I do something on those days, just a little bit of momentum, or even setting up and, like, we'll call it sharpening the axe. So when I hit the ground Monday, I'm off to the races. And so realistically, I want you to start thinking about what are the weekends that you have in place now? What are the plans for those? How are you actually treating that Saturday and Sunday as a moment in time to sharpen the axe, as a continuation, right? You don't want to, essentially be grinding 24/7, but you do want to protect your progress. You don't want to maintain who you're becoming while preserving this rest and the reset of the weekend. I need the reset sometimes, but for me, the amount of work I do in a day doesn't have to be 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. Now, based on what you want, it might be, but give it a good hour. Feel good about it. And if you schedule your life a certain way, which is a different conversation for a different time, if you schedule your life a certain way, you'll find that you're going to have the space where you can breathe. I'll tell you why this is important. Back when I was in the middle of trying to build this in the first place, my wife and I went through a crazy divorce. Most people don't know, but there was a window of time where we tried again. We moved back in together into an apartment. It was a house, in Antioch, California. We went about 6 months. In this 6-month window, I found myself focused again on work. It was work before at the gym. I'd finally closed the gym. It was now work on this business here. And I would actually spend all day on the computer, headphones in. We'd get to dinner. I'd bring the laptop near the table and click on things. As soon as dinner was over, I couldn't wait to get up. I'd go back to the computer building. I got to build, right? The problem was I was separate from my family. I wasn't focused on the family. I wasn't paying attention to things. I was grinding 24/7. And it got to the point where we repeated the cycle of being separated again. So we were separated for about a year, came back together, and then we were together for 6 months, got separated again. It just wasn't going to work. We're like, we're done with this. It was that was the moment we're like, hey, this is never going to work. We're done. We found our way back obviously later, but we're done. And a lot of it, when I look back, was twofold. One, there wasn't a pure communication between me and her of what was needed and what wasn't needed. And two, I was so focused on being right and having this thought in my head of I've got to build this for our family that I didn't lose sight. The family didn't want me to create a moment in the future to be with them. They wanted me to be with them now. And so what I had to realize was that can't be the way that you build a family. Families are built on connection and time spent together. I wasn't spending time. I was there with them physically, but I was not there with them mentally. And maybe you can attest to this in your own life. You've worked too hard or overworked and burned some bridges, and it's real. I had to own that. And for me, that taught me an amazing lesson so that now when we've come back together, I have a beautiful harmony between the work I do. And when I work hard. But when I don't, I rest hard. So I can work really hard for 2 hours on a Sunday before everybody gets up and we go to church and be done the rest of the day. just by organizing my calendar and making sure that my ducks are in a row to get started on Monday. On Saturdays, I can, work in the middle of the day when my wife's got some things going on or we sit down. But the kind of work I do, I choose those weekend works to not be computer, in the corner, headphones in, tucked away and separated from the family. That doesn't serve my family. Weekdays is different. Weekdays I get after it. Weekdays I know who I am. I got to get some things done so the weekends can be free. And sometimes during the week, obviously, I have those windows. But the idea is on the reset weekend, I'm resetting my mind a little bit. I'm resetting my energy. I'm getting myself amplified so I can go back to the next stage of the week, the following week, and get after it. But I'm also like making sure that part of the grind is grinding for my family, grinding for connection, grinding for memories. And those are things that I think we sometimes lose sight of because we're thinking about a future moment that will eventually arrive. But when you arrive at the future moment, if your past determined something in a sense of like negativity for your relationship, or your past detracted, from your happiness with your people, well, yeah, you might have more notoriety in the future. You might have more money in the future. You might have a bigger business. You're celebrating alone now. It's just you there going, hey, well done me, but no one else in your life that you were working for celebrates you. Why? Not because they don't love you, but because now all of a sudden you want to be part of it. Now you want to spend some time. And just so you know, you're never going to get to that point you're thinking about. There's not a moment all of a sudden you stop and go, well, completely done. I'm good. No, what we are building are human habits. And these human habits are designed for us to function a certain way. And that habit means you get used to working a certain way. So even when you do potentially arrive at a goal, you just know how to work. The goal doesn't become a break. It just becomes a milestone, a stopping point for a second, and keep on going until you start to modify the habits you have that bring the goal. For me, I learned that I have to adjust the habits I have, the patterns I have, the structure I have, the scheduling I have, to where that schedule allows me to get used to doing a certain thing. That thing in time will bring the goal, and then even more goals beyond that. But I'm not focused on working crazy to get to a point. I'm working on trying to have a cadence for how I work to where I'll get to that point at some point and continue on past it. So the goal isn't to have an end destination, but to have a habitual way you function, an identity type way you function that creates an outcome you desire and will continue that way in perpetuity. It's an interesting little trick and a switch of your mind. And you might feel in the beginning like you're losing pace, you should be going faster. That's fine. I remember one time somebody told me, Ant, if I was to lock you in a room for 30 days and all you did was work, didn't have to sleep, didn't have to eat, you would walk out of that room in 30 days with more to do than you went in. It's true. Our ideas get more ideas, and I get more ideas, and I think of more things to do. And so think about it. The idea isn't to do more work and get to the end of the work. It's to have a better relationship with how you work, to create the outcome you want, but more so create the life you want. So once you start writing in your day book today, what will you adjust? What kind of habits do you want to have in place? What cadence will you kind of implement into your life to change the way your life is actually unfolding to where you fall in love with the day, not just the destination? Because when you do that, you thoroughly enjoy your Dominators weekend. So write it down, share with the group, and have an amazing weekend. If this episode stirred something in you, good. That means there's work to be done. Don't ignore it, because listening is just the beginning. Because real change happens when you engage and you commit. So I invite you to join the Dark Work community inside the Dark Work app, which is where you communicate with amazing people on the same journey as you. You can find it on the App Store and the Google Play Store right now. Step into the conversations that sharpen your habits, strengthen your identity, and keep you locked in to the dark work.